All right, everyone, it's time for Q&A with Alan and Marshall. And Alan is in the Philippines still, and he can't log on because of internet issues. And Tom is trying to log in. He's on the road as well and keeps having some Wi-Fi challenges also. Tom, did you figure it out? No. So he keeps blooping in and out. So we'll see if we can get this figured out. But in the meantime, we're just going to keep moving forward. So thank you so much for joining us today. All right, Tom, did you figure it out? Say something. All right.
How's it going?
Oh my gosh, you're finally here. Is it
My
going to work?
my phone my phone internet connection is better than the Wi-Fi at the library, so
Okay.
we're good to go. We're gonna.
Well, great. Great. So tell everybody where you are and what's going on, just so they know.
Yes, I'm in Mount Horeb, Wisconsin, and we got stuck in some crazy traffic, so pulled over, ran in the Mount Horeb library, and my wife and kids are at the park right now. We're heading to the Madison Zoo this afternoon.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic. So we have a lot of awesome things to discuss, and I'm so glad that you got everything to work because I was about to have a heart attack. and um, but anyway, so if everybody's tuning in and watching, we would love it if you would say hello. We also know that a lot of you guys watch as a recording. So if you're watching this later, please drop us a note and let us know you're watching. But we want to know where you are. So you're watching from what state or even what country, that really helps us out. And also, if you could just take a minute and share that you're watching the show right now, that really helps out. And if you're just joining us, just don't forget that, Alan Howe would love to be here. He's currently in the Philippines. And according to the text I got, the beach does not have good Wi Fi. So poor pity him. So, anyway, that's what's going on. And Tom's traveling today. I've been traveling all week. I was in Texas. I visited a couple shops and met some people and saw some old friends while I was there. So it was a really good trip. And we're going to get into that today, probably in a little bit. So, anyway, so Tom, what's been going on with you lately? Let's talk about your shop. You guys
Mar-
busy?
Marshall, so I got to say, this is like classic visionary integrator, like conundrum that people probably deal with every day. So myself, the visionary, I just fly by the seat of my pants and everything is like last minute and just like willy-nilly, right?
Yeah.
And Marshall's on this call 30 minutes ahead of time. He's emailing me, he's texting me, and like everything is systems and processes, right?
Yes.
So this is, and then there's the dynamic of the visionary and the integrator of how do you both live and work together in a business and keep keep the peace, I guess, or keep everyone happy. And I think that's the push and pull dynamic that a lot of businesses have a hard time with. Is you just have to like have that understanding of where the other person is and like what their work modes are and how their personality is and stuff like that. So that's one of the things we're doing right now at Envision and One Heron T-shirts is working on, just different things of personality types. We just read the book, so the five love languages.
Yeah.
There's also
Great.
the five acts of appreciation. So in the workplace, it's not necessarily love language, right? But it's
Oh,
the
that'll
five.
get you in trouble with HR, Tom.
Yes, 100%, right? So in the workplace, it's five, it's basically, I think it's called five ways of appreciation,
Yeah.
and we can put it in the notes here. And so we're having basically everyone on the team take this little assessment, and it says like, how do you want to be shown appreciation, whether it's from your coworkers, your supervisor, and your boss. And so it could be gifts, it could be quality time is another one. So actually spending time with the person, whether it's like going out to lunch or just spending time outside of work. Is it words of affirmation? So, some people they need that backup, that word of good job, you're doing great, or, specific to what they're doing. And there's a few other ones there as well. So you figure out what there is ranked high for them, and then you can reward them with that. So if somebody's their top ranking is words of affirmation and quality time, but you reward by giving gift cards or other gifts, like the gift doesn't really mean much to them. They would rather have the other stuff. So it's kind of interesting to see everyone's personalities and how that goes, and then how you can reward them, make them feel great about the work that they're doing, and have that all coincide in this big ecosystem of work, where whether it's 5 employees or 50 or 500, it just helps everything run a little bit smoother.
Right. And I can tell you how I have learned to get along with people, because I've taken some personality tests. I'm an ENTJ commander, right? I am definitely in charge. And I have learned over the years, if you roll over people like a tank, right, you're not going to get much done. And one of the things that I've adopted is the policy of you're only as big as what upsets you, right? So I can tell you that working with somebody like Tom, who is the complete opposite of me, if I let how Tom operates upset me, we are not going to have a business partnership. So, and Tom can tell you, not much upsets me. So, and I try to laugh things off and make little jokes. And Tom knows when I'm not happy. Trust me, he knows it. And, but I'm not going to let it ruin my day. Right. And, so I think that really helps us get along and keep moving forward and do the things that we have to do, because at the end of the day, the only thing that I can control is me. That's the only person I can control. I can't control Tom. I can't control my kid. I can't control my wife. I can't control my customers. I can't control the internet. I can't control, is the airplane on time, or, did the guy do what he was supposed to do? I can't control any of that. The only thing I can control is how I react to things, and then how I set myself up for failure with how I communicate and how I do things. So I think Tom's exactly right about this love language thing, because if you know how people react to things and what they want, right, then it's much easier for you to build a better and stronger relationship, because it's based on the foundation of what people appreciate. So that's awesome. All right.
Yeah,
Hey, we got. So
the book title is The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace by Gary Chapman and Paul White.
Let me look that up on Amazon.
And I actually met Gary Chapman a couple months ago, and they've sold millions, over 12 million copies. And it was just phenomenal, the results he said, people were getting from this.
Well, he's got a lot of books. So it's The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace? Is that what you said?
Yep. Yes.
So sharing, this is it on Amazon, The 5 Languages of Appreciation in the Workplace by Gary Chapman. And looks like you can buy a used copy of this book for $3. So, get it. And anyway, so speaking of appreciation, let's say hello to some folks. So Hurley's watching. Hey, Chris, thanks for being here. He's watching from Saskatchewan, and I always butcher that word, so I'm sure he's cringing right now. Matt's watching from South Carolina. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you. He's in Shirt Lab Tribe. Appreciate you, buddy. Dan's here. Hey, thanks for watching, Dan. Appreciate you, buddy. Sarah's here from Minneapolis, Kansas. Thanks, Sarah. Cindy's watching, as always, from Texas. How you doing, Cindy? Sarah's here. Sounds like a very intriguing book. Yep. And then Greg's here. Good morning. Happy retirement, Mr. Kitson.
Yes. Good morning, Greg.
Appreciate you watching, and would love to hear your insight on things. And thanks for tuning in today. Also, Mike's watching from California. Another Shirt Lab Tribe member heard from, so appreciate you. So anyway, I tell you what, Tom, let's roll our GSG commercial and pay some bills, and then we'll get into some topics, okay? Here we go. If I can find the right button. All right. That's awesome. So huge shout out to GSG for sponsoring our show, but also being one of our top sponsors for Shirt Lab. We really appreciate them. And we've got something to share about their latest pulse that was going to come up later in the show. So be sure to tune in for that. So Tom, I prepared some topics today. And of course, because you were kind of late arriving, we didn't go over them. So you ready for me just to throw them at you, or do you have other things you want to talk about?
No, I'm ready. That's how I roll. I like to shoot from the hip. So fire away.
All right. So the first one is, and I think this is really important, how easy is it to do business with you? And I think when we're thinking about our customers and I'm thinking about getting new sales and marketing and some things, I think a lot of times there's some friction points that are happening. And think about your vendors, think about your software providers, think about the other things that are going on that affect your business. And you guys know where your frustration points are, because guess what? I hear about it all the time. I'm sure you do too, Tom. And then, so think about from your customers, how often are you looking from the outside in about how easy it is to order or pay you or doing different things? I mean, there's a vendor that I'm in like this big battle with right now. I signed up for a service. I'm not really using it. I just wanted to cancel it. And oh my God, it's the worst nightmare ever. And it's like, you know, if somebody ever asks me about them, all I'm going to be doing is bad mouthing them, right? Because there's no empathy at all, right? And so it's just one of these things where how easy is it to do business with you? So Tom, talk about how you think about this for your shop.
So we constantly are looking at it, and we look at, all right, what does the customer journey look like? And how can we better communicate so they're not just sitting there wondering, okay, when are they getting back to me? What's the typical cadence of getting an order approval, getting a art proof, done and approved? Once all that's done, what's the next, timeline of cadence of production? When can they expect to hear from us? What forms of communication is it? And then once that's shipped, are they getting shipment notification? And then once that's done, like, what is the follow-up and everything after that? So like we're totally looking at the entire customer journey and then saying, what does this look like from the customer's perspective? Because internally, there's stuff that's happening that the customer doesn't know about.
Yeah.
So it's what do you have to communicate and let the customer know about? And then what do you have to also have in that system that internally your production has to know about, your graphic designers, your sales team has to know. So it's finding that internal and external customer journey and what that looks like. But then also, anytime you make a change or anything else, it's always thinking, all right, is this adding friction point that could possibly lose the sale or the customer, cause frustration or pain with the customer, or have them go somewhere else? And so you brought up a great one, payments. Do you make it easy for them to pay you?
Yes.
What
Yes.
what how do you get paid? What forms of payment? Right now, in the last 6 months, we added Venmo as a form of payment because we're starting to have some customers request that. So we're like, why don't
Good.
we have a Venmo account? Make it really simple for them. So it's like credit card, Stripe, Venmo, PayPal, check, sometimes cash locally. So it's like, all right, I'm going to give them, and now, we're even doing ACH and direct pulls from bank accounts on, some of our
Mhm.
accounts. So it's
Yeah.
like, all right, we've got 8 or 10 different ways to pay us. There's no excuse not to be able to pay us.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then we also have that on our webpage of basically a pay screen where it's like, hey, here's all the different ways you can pay us. Choose one of them and go for it. So there's not that customer saying, oh, well, I tried doing this and it didn't work. Well, then try one of the other 8 methods.
Yeah.
So make that part easy. Same with art approvals. Just break down every step of the process and say, like, how is this? And how can this be made simpler, or is this causing a friction point? And a friction point is time. Is it taking too long? Is it inconvenient for them? Are people doing stuff on a desktop computer or mobile?
Right.
Most are switching to mobile now. So if it's not easy for them to see a proof or read it or whatever on a mobile, then that's probably a friction point.
Mhm.
In looking at all those things, and being able to adjust and say, what, this is a pain point, this is a friction point, this is where we're maybe losing sales. Another big thing that we do is I will basically secret shop competition. So I will go
Right.
to other people in the industry and say, all right, how is their process and how is that different from ours? And is there a nugget or two I can grab from their process that's a lot better or simpler um, than ours, and implement it in with what
Yeah.
we do?
Yeah. And you've talked with me about how you've ordered from different types of industries, like sticker mule or whatever, and like how just easy it is to go to the next step. And they have, and other companies like them have something that I call it's automagical, right? It just instantly happens the way it's supposed to happen, right? And this is because they have engineered that. I mean, it wasn't by accident, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like trip over the concrete and figure it out, right? They actually built that. So when we're doing things in our industry, are we building this auto magical experience? For example, the order ships and then the customer auto magically gets the tracking number, and nobody has to do that because it's set up. There's tons of software programs that do that, right? But is your shop set up for that, right? And when you send out an art approval, does it automatically send a reminder the following day, or a rush order after 6 hours or whatever, so your art staff doesn't have to do that, right? Are you building that into your process? I know that when I do a lot of contracts, because I work a little differently than you guys, I use DocuSign, and it automatically sends stuff every 2 business days until they sign the form, because that way I don't have to do it, right? So just think about how you're doing that. We've got some comments, so let's do that real quick. So Artem's watching from Seattle. Hey, Artem, good to see you here.
Good morning.
Greg says spending the week with family during the last week of school in the Chicago area. That's good. Playing with the grandkids, I'm sure. Frank,
Frank.
from SNS says good morning. Good to see you. Greg agrees with you. Time for a secret shopper scenario. Exactly. Mr. Greaves is watching from Michigan. Good to see you. Ray's watching. Good to see you, Ray. Thanks for joining us. Daryl's here. Tom Rowan, tell us about your thoughts on transactional business. Thanks, Tom. So, hey, Tom, take it away.
Wow. So I am always 100% all about the long game. If I didn't have to do transactional business, I would not. That's one area of business I want to just like get rid of. And so I'm always looking at, lifetime value of a customer. Like when we onboard a customer and we get a new customer, in my mind is like, how do we add value to them? How do we create a great relationship? And how do we have this customer for the next 5 years, 10 years, 15 years? And it's not just a one-time transaction. And so like a one-time transaction would be the bachelorette party, right? Like they're probably not going to come in for another one unless there's another girl in the party that's getting married as well. And then you get another bachelorette party. But, it's all about the long game of customer lifetime value. Who are those longevity customers that you want to put in the time and the effort and the systems and processes, everything to build those relationships up so that it is not a transactional customer, it is long-term. And that's really makes a huge difference in the business. And even on the customer niche. So there's certain niches where it's a transaction niche where it's a one-time, event or a one-time deal. And then it's like, okay, you're constantly doing that. It's a revolving door of customers. It just makes business that much tougher to do. So we're always looking at the long game, really.
Yeah. Well, there's t-shirt printers or embroiderers or whatever that are all about it. It's a commodity. It's all about the lowest price. It's all about the bare minimum we have to do for you, right? And then I think the people that can get and keep more money, right, sell on a higher value, and the value that they're bringing is that relationship where it's about the experience. It's about solving problems for people. It's about thinking through and offering stuff that nobody else can offer because you have better answers or better creative, or you're doing things that people just can't keep up with because they're not playing on the same field that you are because you're way up here. And that is all about being a relationship driven and really looking at things from a long-term standpoint rather than just the latest order that was sent in. Really good comment. So, hey, Daryl, let us know if that was okay with you, since it was your question. So Dan says, during my 11 years at Disney, I've experienced, and thanks, by the way, Dan, for writing something that completely obliterates our faces. I've experienced a lot of the ways the company tries appreciation. One thing I know from many polls is the cast members they have is that a monetary appreciation is valued much higher long-term than frequent gifts, high on the list. We had an annual small list of steady things giving us to show appreciation by the company. Highest value by cast members is a connection with management and frequent personal recognition. People want you to know how and see how well, I guess you got cut off, but it's probably something about how you see them and how you listen to them and how you're interacting with them. And that's exactly true. And I know from doing all the work that I've done, if you want your employees to stick around, it's all about listening to them, cross-training them, and like bringing more value to the relationship from an employer to the employee by trusting them more and not micromanaging them. Just saying, hey, you got it. I trust you. See ya. And, Tom, is a perfect example, because how often, Tom, are you actually traveling and not in your shop working and everything is running? Right?
A fair amount, yeah.
Yeah, right. And do things happen the way they should when you're gone?
They do pretty darn good. We've got a great team, and
Yeah,
I put 100% trust in everybody,
right.
to do a good job and to do it as if they have ownership in it.
Right. And the more that you do that, the better. I was talking with one of my coaching clients the other day, and he was sharing me they do birthday lunches, and they were having a birthday lunch for one of the team members, by the way, who's a vegan, and they ordered in vegan food, which they hardly ever do. And everybody got to try it, and actually they kind of liked it. And they had budgeted an hour for this, but they realized that they were really busy, and a manager didn't say this. One of the workers said it. Hey, we should really go back to work so we can get these orders out. Right? That's being ownership and having a responsibility. And that's so awesome to hear. If you're the owner, so the owner of the business told me that, and he was blown away by that statement. And everybody just went back to work happy and joyful. Not rah, 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 we got to work, right? It was like they were happy to do it. That's so awesome to hear that, right? By the way, Simon's here. Good morning. Ray says transactional sales is the flip side of transactional production. The essence of a job shop you have to set up for that equipment wise. Same for the transactional business model. Good. And Daryl says good answer. Ask employees their definitions of self-discipline and self-correcting, followed up with what makes your heart sing. Exactly. And I know from talking with Daryl, one of his big questions when he talks to people is what brings joy in your life? Right. And I really like that, especially on an employee interview for a job, because if they don't have joy in their life, they're always the people who are always bitching and grumbling about things. Right. So thanks, Daryl. Appreciate you. All right. So that's kind of finished that topic. Please share what you think on that. If you've got more comments, we'd love to hear that. I think our next topic today is something that Tom is really good at, which is marketing planning, right? So here we are in June, right? And the reason I'm bringing this up is that we got back to school a couple months from now. We got holidays coming around the corner. And I know from my contacts with the promotional products industry, they're already doing holiday orders because of supply chain issues. They're selling Christmas right now. Are you? Are you having that conversation with your clients right now about holiday and securing those orders? Yeah, I know it's June. It's hot out. It's hard to think of Santa, right? But I want to talk about how you should be thinking about planning for marketing, because to me, what is marketing? Marketing is the act of creating customers. To me, that's what marketing is, right? So how are you creating customers or reactivating your current customers and getting orders in the door? That's what marketing is. And it can't happen just by accident. It requires planning and thought, and you got to create stuff and all that. So how are you doing it? So Tom, what do you think about this?
Yeah, 100%. So I met with John, our sales manager, yesterday. And, we're just looking ahead and saying, all right, do we have our fall web stores lined up? When are we doing a fall showcase to get, our Christmas orders and, any of that fall and Christmas stuff ready to go? And then, yeah, you nailed it, where it's looking at supply chain saying, all right, if we're ordering Christmas stuff, in October, November, it might be out of stock by then. So
Yeah.
we've got to be looking and proactively reaching out to these big clients and saying, all right, we have to get approvals and try to figure this out July or August if we want to guarantee and make sure that stock is available in certain items.
Mm-hmm.
So I think
Right.
that's, it changes the game right now with supply chain. It's
Yeah.
how do we get proactive and try to stay ahead of it? The other thing is just kind of looking at the overall economy with the stock market all over the place and inflation and gas prices and everything else. Um, the quicker you can secure that and get those orders placed in, you might be able to get a price discount as well. By discount, I mean it's not if you order now, it might
Mhm.
be 20% more in a couple months.
Yeah.
Um, so
Exactly.
it's just knowing that and like I said, you can't just wait for it to happen. You can't just wait for sales to happen. You have to be proactive and get some sort of a plan in place, put it on the calendar, get some action steps with it, and keep moving forward.
Yeah, that's so true. And I know that I was speaking with a shop owner months ago. This wasn't a recent conversation, but last year they took an inventory position on hoodies and fleece, and they bought, I want to say it's like 10 or 15,000 blanks and stored them. And when all of their competition couldn't find stuff, they were killing it, and they were able to sell at a higher price because of supply and demand. They are the only ones that could sell in their area because they had all the stock. Now that was a gamble and a risk, but hey, that's business. And it paid off for them because they made a lot of money doing that probably wouldn't have if they had just been buying stuff as orders were coming in. Not saying that you guys should do that, but it's something you should be thinking about, right? And that was what happened last year. They bought that stuff during the summer, not during the winter, right? And they were able to get what they need to do what they had to do, right? So, and I think there's a tool that everybody has that we so frequently don't use. Do you know what that tool is, Tom, for planning?
A calendar?
A calendar, exactly. How come we don't use that? How come we don't use a calendar more? Like, when is something supposed to happen? Who is going to do it? When are we doing it? When are we making that video? When are we making that asset? When are we going live on Facebook? Right? This is so important to what we do. And you know what? We don't do planning. And we talked about at the beginning of the thing, between me and you, who is more planning?
Yeah, 100% you.
And I always want to know this stuff, right? I have a spreadsheet. I've got dates on it. Trust me. And and I think it's really helpful to look at this stuff and know where you are with it and be checking things and delegating things. I mean, I don't do all the work. I have folks that help me, right? So I delegate the tasks out. And that's how we get it done on time, was because we're in control of our process and our method. And I think with marketing, I think you need that. And so just a thought, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but we need to do more things with planning and using a calendar, right? So, all right. Well, hey, I want to share the GSG Pulse right now. So let's flip to that real quick, if I can figure out the buttons here. Here we go. So let's get rid of this. So there were some comments the other day about white ink and how expensive it was in one of the groups. And I wanted to show you GSG has some pricing on ink. And so that looked pretty good to me, So you can buy Vortex Slow Bleed white ink for $79 a gallon, $3.49 for a 5, right? If you need poly white, it's $109 a gallon, right? So I just go to gogsg.com and see about getting your supplies and get that handled, and compare to other vendors and see if you can save some money, because those are pretty good pricing, I think. What do you think, Tom?
Yeah, I love it. Right now, that's the name of the game. You got to go make it happen.
Yep, right. So anyway, big shout out to GSG for sponsoring the Q&A show, but also Shirt Lab, and we're going to get into some Shirt Lab stuff later, but big thank you for that. So all right, let's come back to our next topic, which is going to be about best practices. So, one of the things I do as a consultant is help people with this. But I think it's really important for your company to map out your SOPs, your standing operating procedures. What do you want? What's the outcome that you want with clarity, right? If you, the owner, or you, the manager, you know it, but your team doesn't know it and they haven't been trained on it, and you don't hold them accountable for it, it's really almost virtually impossible to get the results that you want, right? So in every facet of your business, there are best practices that you should be doing and following. And so I just want to throw that out there to talk about. So how do you know you're doing things properly? What do you do? So Tom, how do you develop best practices for your shop? How are you training? And then how are you finding out for your shop that you're doing things correctly?
Well, Marshall, we need you to come in and help us, because we've got some good practices. I wouldn't say they're the best, but yeah, it's trying to. What we're trying to do now is break down each job or each department. I understand so I'm 100% visionary. So when it comes to systems and processes, I can get about 25 or maybe 50% of the way there, but I really need somebody else to help dial it in, actually document it, and, get it to the finish line. So, when I look at the overall scope of the business, there's so many different moving parts that right now we're looking and saying, all right, how do we go through each individual area or job or whatever, and just dial that one in. Don't worry about everything else. Just pick one spot. So for instance, maybe it's screen coating. What is the equipment? What is the supplies? What is the step 1, 2, and 3 to coat screens? That may seem like a very small part, but if whoever's doing that is out sick or on vacation or whatever else, how can somebody else in the team effectively step into that job, whether it's read through a 1-page or a 3-page sheet or watch a 3-minute video and know how to pick up and do that.
Right.
That's what we're trying to do is get that all down, and then also create that redundancy within those systems, so that if we do have employee turnover or someone's out sick or whatever the case is, it's easy for someone else to pick up and grab a hold of.
Yeah. Well, Tom, that's really great. And all I have to say is you have my phone number.
Yes.
All right. So here's an easy thing for you guys to think about, right? Is just to map out with clarity what the expectations you have and what the results you should have. So I think everybody on the planet's probably got one of these. You've got one of these, right, Tom? Cell phone?
Yep.
It's got a movie camera on it. Did you know that?
A really good one too.
Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things you can do is you can just stand there and film somebody doing the work, right? Of course, they have to be doing it correctly, right? But they're doing the work. And then what you can do is you can upload this to YouTube. You can make it a private video, and you can title it "How to Coat Screens," okay, or whatever it is, right? How to level your press, how to put an order in, how to do whatever you're doing, right? And then what you can do is you can make a QR code about the size of a business card, or probably a little smaller, maybe a little bigger than a postage stamp if you're worried about space. Put that on a sticker, right? Or just print it on a piece of paper and use some packing tape and then stick it on the side of that piece of equipment. And then somebody doesn't remember how to code screens or how to ship to Canada or how to grease the bearings of the press or whatever you're doing, right? Here, and then label it. Here's how you know, watch the movie, right? And if you guys are members of Shirt Lab Tribe, you know our workshop from Q1 was on exactly this, about how to build training programs for your business. And that's available in our Shirt Lab Research Center. So I recommend that you watch that. And then anyway, so it's not that difficult to do. It just takes time. And guess what? Planning, right? But you could do it off the cuff. If somebody's doing something, just stand there with your camera and film it, right? Narrate what's going on. Now, here's what they're doing. They're doing this, they're doing that, they're doing this other thing. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to be able to hear what's going on and in good lighting enough to see what the results are, right? And I think that would really help lots of people. And then write down the steps. You know, everybody learns differently. So have a couple ways of learning. And I think this is how you ensure best practices. I'm also a big believer in capturing data, right? So how long does it take? How many can you do in an hour? That type of stuff. And I think everybody knows that I've got a production tracker app that kind of measures all that stuff. If you want more information, just let me know. By the way, we're having a webinar next week on the 9th with our newest stuff that we're doing with the production tracker app. So check that out. But anyway, so you really just have to like model what you're trying to go after. And I think if you want to find out what best practices there are in the industry, I think hanging out in industry groups like Shirt Lab Tribe or going to trade shows or talking with other business owners or production managers and asking them, hey, I've got this problem. How did you solve it? I think that really can help you. All right. So we've got some more comments. So Tanya's here. So good. Thanks for showing up. So I need to get better at this. Proactive is my word for the year, and I'm still not doing it like I need to. Exactly. Right. Just have Jay remind you. Okay. Greg says, does reactive planning work for you, Tom? He asked that question.
It's a mix. It kind of depends, you know, it's back and forth, ebbs and flows, depending on the time of the year.
Yeah. Right. So if you're trying to think about how to do things differently, right? When you solve symptoms, right? You're fixing just what happened, right? You're going to have that problem again. If you solve root causes, you've eliminated that problem forever. So pay attention to what you're doing in your shop and think about if something doesn't go the way you want it to, are you solving a symptom or are you solving a root cause? And how do you know? Okay, so just think about that. Ray says print calendars have 5 Mondays, 2 overtime days, and no weekends all 1 month. Good. Richard says, I yelled calendar sarcastically. I can hear it now, Richard. 1% better every day. Identify the bottlenecks and remedy them. When bottlenecks are resolved, a new bottleneck will appear. Resolve that issue and never stop challenging how things are done. Exactly. A great tool to use for this, by the way, is a whiteboard that's in a public place. And then you put who's responsible and what's the date that it needs to be resolved by. And you just keep a running list. I like a whiteboard because it's in your face. So if you keep a spreadsheet or you keep a Word document or you keep anything, you know, they use another tool, you have to open it to look at it. When it's a whiteboard hanging on the wall, it's visible all the time, and it should piss you off that nobody's done anything with that thing yet. Right? Training videos, 3 to 5 minutes max. Page flip chart with pictures of process steps. Checkbox list. Oh, checklist. Exactly. Cross-train processes on a regular basis. And buy some damn measuring tools. Love it. 1% better becomes the SOP for everything. Ghost is here from Sweden. How's it going? Tanya says, okay. Greg says, my boss mistake has always been lack of accountability on a continued basis. I move on to another project without ensuring continued accountability. Thanks, Greg. It's good to be self-aware. BDV Tom will use all bottlenecks in his other company, right? I'm not sure what BDV means. Maybe he means by the way. I don't know. He's Swedish, so English is not his first language. So where are we on time? We got about 15 minutes left. So let's go to best practices. This is sort of similar, which is, are you doing the right thing? So think about, and I've got a blog article about this that's coming out tomorrow, but if you've got the right people on the bus and they're in the right seats, the next step is, are they doing the right things? Right? And how do you know that? Right? This goes along with the best practice thing. So Tom, how do you know that your employees are doing the right things?
If they're not, it creates a bottleneck, right? Like I feel like each department's relying on the department either ahead or behind them to do the right thing. Because if artwork isn't doing the right thing, sales isn't going to get the proof back to send to the customer, or they're not, have that order moving forward. If artwork's not doing the right thing, then down the line, Screenprinting is not going to have the separations and the screens ready. So that, that kind of ensures that it happens. So I think whoever's in front or behind in the process is going to help ensure that they're getting it done on time and getting it done right. Otherwise it's coming back, or that's creating the slowdown in the system.
Yep. Read this book. The goal. We talk about it all the time. If you're hearing about this now, this is the book you should read, right? This is all about how to eliminate bottlenecks, because that's what they talk about in the book. It's a very easy to read book. I read it once a year at least, right? And you're going to hear all about bottlenecks, the theory of constraints, which says that we can only move as fast as the slowest part of the process. And I think this book aligns perfectly with our industry because it walks you through how somebody's trying to solve problems with their own manufacturing plant. They create some sort of widget. You never really hear what they're talking about. But if you just imagine they're talking about printing at press 1 or that embroidery job on the machine number 2 or whatever, and you can imagine how they're trying to solve these problems, I think you realize there's a lot of similarities between what they're doing and what you're doing, right? And it's a very easy to read book. Highly recommend it. You can probably find it fairly inexpensively on Amazon, probably used, it's been around forever. One of my favorite books. So are you doing the right things is really important, because what we really want to know is what does success look like? And if we've mapped that out with our process, then we know that we're doing the right things. And it's not we're getting these results and we don't understand them. So, and so what's interesting in our industry is we're not making a million widgets with one process. We're making custom stuff. Every order is completely different to the next order. The only thing that's the same is how we process things, how we bring in an order, how we create the artwork, how we get ready for things, how we move the job through the business, how we ship. Those are all really about the same every single time. It's just what we're doing is different. So your processes in your plant have to be mapped out, and they should be the same, right? So, all right. Where are we here? So Greg says beer bottleneck. That's funny. And then Sean says, hey, and if you missed last week's show, Sean did a spectacular job standing in for Alan, and he was really funny. Tom, tell me what you told me.
So Sean was on the Shirt Lab Q&A on Tuesday, and he showed me the screen he made with Alan cut out. And if I would have had more time, I was going to have Sean ship me the exact same thing, so I could have did it as well. It was a phenomenal idea, and I like doing that. Anytime you can do something different and have fun with it, and Sean definitely took the bull by the horns and had some fun with it.
Yeah, and if you missed the episode, you could just watch it on my YouTube channel, which is just YouTube/Marshall Atkinson. You can see the show, right? So, all right, so we got a couple minutes left, and I want to talk about my favorite topic right now, which is what, Tom? You know?
Well, it could be a couple things. Is it barbecue?
It's not barbecue. It could be.
Bourbon barbecue, Shirt Lab Chicago.
It is Shirt Lab Chicago. And so, Tom, what are we doing? What are we doing in Chicago in July?
We're taking over Chicago, and we've got an amazing lineup of speakers. Super pumped up for this one. One, Chicago is like my number one favorite city to go to. Everything just from the skyscrapers, the downtown area. You've got the lake right there, the lakefront. I love running on there, and then the food is so good. I'm working on finalizing the lunch for this event, and then of course the speakers and everyone else. I live 3 hours from Chicago, so I love Chicago. And we've been looking forward to this event. We had it planned in 2020. The Chicago event got postponed because of COVID. And, now we're back. We're doing it. It's at the W Hotel downtown, which is one of my favorite hotels to stay at. Absolutely love it. And looking forward. So we're on the tail end of the ASI show. So if anyone is going to the ASI show, I believe that ends on Wednesday or Thursday. And then, we're kicking this thing off on Thursday night with the rock, paper, scissors contest sponsored by Stalls. And it's kind of the meet and greet. Let's talk shop, get to know a lot of the.
It's always fun.
It's one of my favorites, and get to know, mingle with others in the industry, see what they're working on, what they're doing. A lot of the sponsors will be there, so you kind of get up close and personal with them, as well as a lot of the speakers. So I go through, research who the speakers are, what their specialty is, stuff like that, and have some of those questions ready to go for the mixer and the mingle time the night before the event. And then you see the lineup right there for the event. We've got an action-packed day. But then we also make sure we tie enough breaks in there, because we know that some of the magic, not only learning from these experts and the presentations that they're doing, but the other magic is those relationships and what you're learning outside of the speakers. So that's during the break times when you bump into someone, and next thing you know, you're either doing a contract job for them or contracting something out to them, or you're working together on, some artwork, or where to find this black extra large hooded sweatshirt, or who has athletic gold tackle twill right now, or some ink that's out of stock, or some crazy stuff. Like, these are the connections where you can rely on other people in the industry to help fill that gap. Or if you're even dealing with other stuff, whether it's employee stuff or just customer stuff, like whatever it is, a lot of times I'll reach out to others in the industry that I've met at Shirt Lab, who's, someone, I'll call Allie up and be like, hey, what's going on? What do you got going on in your shop? How do I fix this? Whatever the case is. So it's building those relationships with the others in the industry that, can really help propel your business forward.
Yeah, and let's just go through the speakers real quick. So, here's what I'll tell you is a lot of people who've been to a Shirt Lab live event have not only been to one event, chances are they've been to three, right?
Mm-hmm.
People keep coming back and back and back, and we have them all over the country. And every time we do one, it's a completely different program. Sometimes we use the same speakers, but a lot of times it's new. And we've got some new people on this lineup that people go, hey, who is that? Right. So I think let's just go through this real quick. So it's going to start off in the morning with Jay Bassell. And if you don't know who Jay is, he is a ball of energy, right? And he is all about marketing. He does the marketing for Equipment Zone, but he's also about branding. He's a promo kitchen chef. He's been around, and actually he coined the term tribe in our first Shirt Lab event that was in Columbus, and which is where Shirt Lab Tribe comes from. It came from his presentation. He actually was our first Shirt Lab live speaker. So we're bringing him back, and he's going to open the day up with about giving you a blueprint to make your brand more relevant. And then we have Rumwalia, who is the head guy at Supercolor, and he's going to walk you through how they built their brand guideline for Supercolor, right? And their brand is very distinctive. I'm sure you've probably seen some of their ads and everything, what they do. And, actually I write for them now. So I'm really having a lot of fun working with them. But what's very interesting is how they do stuff, why they chose the things they did. And he wants you to learn from him so you can rebrand your shop, your business. And so those are those two. The next thing up is Tom talking about this secret marketing hack with events. So Tom, why don't you share what you're talking about there, since you're on the show right now?
Yeah, so we do a lot of events throughout the year, and that's everything from small events in basically our conference room where we'll have our top 10 clients come in, and it's a product showcase type event. Then we'll do a larger product showcase event where we invite all of our customers, we invite vendors and everything else. And then we also do Mac and Cheese Fest, which is our community charity event. And then I also host a 5K trail race. And we do a number of other events besides those throughout the year that, like, the event side of the business not only helps with, growing our customer base, growing our sales, growing the community, like everything around that. There's so many benefits of having events. So if people aren't doing events right now in their business, I'm going to be talking about all the different ones that we do, from small to large scale, and how to pull them off, and just all the benefits that come with it.
That's great. And then Dawn and Renee are both in your network of mastermind groups. So Dawn, it goes on at 11:15 talking about optimizing for web conversion. So Tom, tell us why you wanted her to be on our program.
She's just a rock star, and it's bringing, so we always look at the lineup and say, all right, who's the rock stars in the industry, and then who can we bring experts in from outside the industry, and is doing.
Hey Tom, we lost your audio.
You still there?
Yeah, I'd say so. We brought people in. Why?
So who's doing something phenomenal somewhere else, and how can we bring that expertise in our industry and help everybody out? So Dawn's one of those people that is just on the digital side of things. She's got an agency and just knocking it out of the park.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have a fantastic lunch, And then I'm right after lunch in that dreaded spot after lunch. I'm taking one for the team there. But I'm going to be talking about NFTs and how you should be thinking about NFTs and how you can build better value and a deeper relationship with your customers by thinking about NFTs. And if you don't know what an NFT is, I'm not going to get into that now, but I think it's something you should be considering, not because it's the crazy cat picture that you can sell for $500, but because it's there's a utility function that's really going to be dynamic that you should be thinking about. And then next up is Matt Marcotte with Printavo. He also runs a shop in Chicago, and he's going to be talking about how efficiency combats inflation, right? So right now, as we know, everything is going crazy with pricing. And if you think about how you can become more efficient, this is how you stay relevant. You don't lose money when everything's going to hell in a handbasket with what you're paying for things. And so his whole presentation is about inflation. And I think this is something that I think everybody right now needs. And then after our break, Renee is talking about closing the sale. So Tom, share with us what's going on with that.
Yes, Renee is a sales rock star, and she's worked with big corporate sales teams, developing sales processes. We're actually hiring her at one of her t-shirts to work with our sales manager and our sales team on just every bit. We're diving in, we're breaking down the entire sales process and rebuilding it from the ground up. And so she brings just a wealth of experience and knowledge, and everyone's always looking at, like, how do I build my sales team? What are the processes? And she's going to bring all sorts of gold with that. So really looking forward to Renee speaking as well.
Yeah, and that's great. So not only is she speaking, you've actually hired her to help you. So I think that says a lot right there. Next up is Kevin. And he's talking about building a sales machine, which is all about your sales force, your sales group, and thinking about how you should be doing that. And I think that's going to be dynamic for people. This is a really common question you see all the time. Hey, I want to hire some salespeople. What do I do? So if that is a question you've been asking lately, or maybe something you're struggling with the people that work for you, I think this is something you should be paying attention to. And then rounding up the speakers is Mr. Richard Greaves, and his presentation is going to be all about the forgotten fundamentals, which is these are the things that you already know that you're not doing, right? And if you were at Shirt Lab Fort Worth last year, you know what a great presentation that Richard gave. I really enjoyed it. It was awesome. And I think this year's is going to be even better. So, and then lastly, at the end, we're having a panel discussion, and which is where all of our speakers just line up, and it's just a free for all with questions. And that conversation is always awesome because everybody joins in, and we have that catch box that we throw around, and it's lots of fun. So this is why you should be coming to Chicago. And so, Tom, how should somebody, where do we go to sign up?
Go to shirtlablive.com. Get your tickets now.
Yep. And reserve your ticket. You can also, right here on the webpage, we've got a hotel room block. Do they have to stay in that hotel, Tom?
They do not have to stay in that hotel, but proximity is everything. So it's the conversations that go on before and after the event in the lobby. You bump into somebody in the elevator. So it's always a lot of fun when, the more people at the host hotel helps out.
Yeah. Also, I want to just throw out there, we're having a field trip on Thursday. That's not on the website. We're going to drive down around 9:00 Thursday, the 21st morning, to the S&S Activewear warehouse and get a tour of how they do things there, how they pull orders and all that kind of stuff. So if you've ever wondered how they do stuff when we've placed your order, you're going to get a behind the scenes tour. This is an exclusive. It's not going to cost you any money, but we want you to show up and do that, right? So anyway, that's it. I think we just lost Tom, right? Maybe he'll jump back in. We'll see how that goes. But anyway, do we have any questions or comments? Let's go through here. Oh, he's back. Say something, Tom.
Here I am.
All right. So Frank says, can't wait for Chicago. Looking forward to all the great speakers. Thanks, Frank. Hurley says, does Shirt Lab ever come to Western Canada? I don't know. Do they let Americans in Canada yet? I don't know about that. And then Daryl says, for Shirt Lab attendee, if you go prepared to learn and open, you'll have an amazing time. And Daryl, by the way, I found out, where were we? Shirt Lab St. Louis, that Daryl and I have the same birthday. That's an amazing point that you'll find out when you go to one of these things, that you have stuff in common with other people that you didn't know, right? So anyway, thank you, Daryl, for sharing that. We'd love to see you. I'm going to give Tom about 2 seconds here to see if he's going to jump back in. He's having some internet issues, but we'd love everybody to come to see us at Shirt Lab Chicago. That's July the 22nd. Jump in at shirtlablive.com. And this is definitely going to be an event that you don't want to miss. If you've got any questions or anything with that, you can always reach out to me. My email address is marshall@marshallatkinson.com. Would love to help you out and get you signed up and answer your questions. So just let me know. And we're over time. So I'm going to say, see ya. Thanks for watching. Have a fantastic week. I want to give Tom Rauen a huge shout out for hanging in there and trying to make this work from a library on the side of the road somewhere between Dubuque, Iowa and Madison, Wisconsin, wherever he is. So anyway, thanks a lot, guys. Have a really great weekend, and we will check you later. See ya.